Welcome. I'm Ben Whitley with the North Fulton Master Gardeners. I'm here today to talk to you about the top 10 lawn care mistakes. This is one of a series of presentations by the North Fulton Master Gardeners that are posted on YouTube. I've been Master Gardener for about 4 years. I have maintained my own lawn for 30 or more years. During that time, from time to time, I have used lawn care services, so I've got familiarity with working with them. Currently, I've got both Zoysia and Bermuda. Zoysia in the front, Bermuda in the back. I had fescue in the front for many years, but about 10 years ago, I decided to go with Zoysia in the front, and that's been a really great move for me. So what I'm saying is, I've tried various different grasses and have got some experience with them. Some of my other gardening interests are with heirloom tomatoes, a vegetable garden, and I also enjoy growing perennials. Well, let's take a look at the number one mistake. That is not knowing your lawn maintenance schedule for using pre-emergents and fertilizers. Depending upon what type of grass you have, you'll want to fertilize and put your pre-emergents out either together or separately. If you've got fescue, which is a cool weather grass, you can put them out at the same time. If you have warm weather grasses, which are Bermuda or Zoysia, and there's some other warm weather grasses, but we'll only cover those two today. Bermuda or Zoysia, you want to do them at separate times. Now, how do you know when to do it? The Georgia Extension has prepared calendars for you, and we won't go through this in detail, but I do want to show you a couple of things here. Here, where the arrow is, you see fertilization, and it says that the best time to fertilize fescue is in February and March, and again in October and November. And there are other months that it's possible. As far as putting out spring emergents, those are the same months, February and March. And for the pre-emergents for winter, fescue is in September. All right, now let's take a look at Zoysia, and Bermuda is the same, the very same. And here you'll see that the best time to put out fertilizer for warm weather grasses is between May and August. And then we go down and we're looking for pre-emergents. That's different. It's actually the same time as fescue and as fescue is. And that's in the winter time, you would put it down in February and March. And in the fall, you put it out in September. So the point is, you need to select the right type of fertilizer and the right type of pre-emergent and put it out at the right time. This is a very helpful, or these are very helpful calendars. And so I'm going to show you in a minute how to find it on the internet. This has got all of the information that you'll need to maintain your lawn. You can do as some others have done and print it out and maybe put it in a plastic sleeve and tack it somewhere in your gardening area or inside gardening area or in your garage. So how do you find it? You find it at the link for the University of Georgia's extension publications. You don't have to remember that extension. All you have to do is put UGA extension publications and it'll take you to that link. Once you get to the link, there is a space there, and that space says search UGA extension. If you put Zoysia grass calendar or Bermuda grass calendar, it will take you to the calendar, and then you can print it out for yourself. So that is the number one mistake. The number two mistake is failing to do a soil test. Grasses, as other plants, absorb nutrients at certain pHs. For grass, it's between 5.5 and 6.5. So do you know whether or not your lawn needs lime or sulfur? What fertilizers do you need? Well, if you do a soil test every 3 or 4 years, then you'll know. The way to do that is to get a test bag from the North Fulton Annex, which is in Sandy Springs at the annex, and the address is there. When you go into the main floor, you'll see the reception desk, and you can just ask there, and they'll tell you where the extension is. Once you put your soil in and fill out the form, you return it to the extension, pay $12, and in 2 weeks you'll get an email, and the email will look something like this. This is a test for my front lawn a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, the bars did not come through when I tried to scan it, but you can see the lines. It really isn't that important to know what phosphorus, potassium, and calcium or these other elements do. As soon as you see the bar, you'll have an idea of whether or not you have a problem. Over on the right side, it tells you what the pH is. Now, the pH in my yard was 6.6, and it says that I don't need lime. The extension is terrific in that they do all the work for us. And down here in the notes and the recommendations, they tell me you don't need limestone because I'm within an accepted pH range. And down below, it tells me what type of fertilizer I need and how much to apply. So whether it's I've got a new lawn for establishment or maintenance, that is there for you. So they make it easy, and getting a soil test is one of the best things you can do for your lawn. The next mistake is, and one that I've made for many years, is not bothering to read the text on the back of the Preemergent and the fertilizer bags. There's a lot of good information there that will make the difference in the performance of your insecticide, your herbicide or your fertilizer. On the front of the bag, it's going to show you a number like a 10-10-10 or 888 or 2800, which is the number that is going to be on your soil test. And you'll also want to look for a fertilizer that is for established turf or new turf. So that's helpful information on the front. On the back is even more information about when to apply it, how to apply it, and how much. The same thing with the Preemergents. On the back, it's going to tell you what weeds are controlled. Most of these are broad chemicals, or chemicals that cover a broad number of weeds. But if you have a particular problem like poor Anna, which is also called, it's a bluegrass, and one of the most prevalent weeds, you'll want to look and make sure that the Preemergent that you're getting controls that. And it's also going to tell you when and how much to apply. Very important is you don't need to put out any more than it tells you. There's no benefit and actually some drawbacks to putting out more than is needed. It's also going to talk to you about personal protection. Personal protection is something that, frankly, I didn't pay attention to for many years, but have realized how important it is. And now I read that carefully and I follow those directions. The fourth mistake is how you cut your grass. Quite often people cut it too short. Uh, the rule of thumb is you never want to cut more than a third of the blade. Well, sometimes you do. And if it's very short and we have a really hot spell, it can knock the grass back considerably. How high should the grass be? It depends upon what type of grass you have. If you've got Bermuda, it's 1.5 to 2 inches. Zoysia is a little higher, and fescue is the highest at 2.5 to 3.5 inches. The star indicates that in the summertime, it's a good idea when you have hot weather to raise the blade up 1/2 inch or so. That's going to allow the blades to be taller. It'll shelter the roots, cool the roots, maintain moisture better, and you'll have a better performance. Another mistake is not getting that blade sharpened. You know, did you get it sharpened? Was it this year or last year, or was it the year before? Sometimes time gets away from us, and we're cutting with a dull blade, and the grass just doesn't look as good. Do you mow the same way every time? If you do, you might have some lines in the grass, especially if the grass is a bit taller. You'll see the wheel lines. If you mow in one direction one week, another week another direction, you know, diagonally or following different lines, you won't have those wheel lines, and also it makes it a little more interesting. At least it does for me. You don't want to water. I mean, you don't want to cut grass while it's wet, and that's because the grass just clogs up and doesn't disperse as efficiently. The fifth mistake is watering, and how people are watering. Too much or too little. The recommendation is for 1 week, 1 inch per week, if there's no rainfall. Now, I just saw a neighbor's irrigation system on yesterday, and I'm wondering, why does he have it on? We received 12 inches of rain last week, and he just does not need to do it. Well, he's got it set, and he's not paying attention. So, you know, he's just wasting water. But you only need 1 inch a week. If it rains, then, you know, you might have to actually put out a little less than that. When you water, you want to water deeply, because that means gives an opportunity for the water to get down into the roots. The roots will go down, and when we have a drought, you'll have a much more resilient lawn. If you have new sod or you've put out seeds, you want to keep that moist but not wet. For seeds, it usually takes about 2 weeks for new seeds to germinate. And if you just keep it slightly moist and just avoid letting it get totally dried out, you'll have a better germination. Are you watering at the best time? Nighttime into early morning is the best time. They say the very best is from 3 to 7 a.m. if you have an irrigation system. Daytime watering can promote fungus growth. If you are watering and you end the watering before dawn, the sun will be up, the sun will dry out the blades, and it'll be more resistant to disease. So those are some of the things to think about when watering. The sixth mistake is the wrong type of grass for your location. That's one of the reasons why I had to go from fescue to zoysia in my front yard. It just got too hot in June and July and knocked the fescue back, which meant that either I had to water it a lot more, or even when I watered it, the grass was not going to do well. The fescue likes morning sun and afternoon shade. That afternoon shade just means that You want to avoid the really hot sun in the afternoon with a fescue. It grows best between 60 and 85 degrees. Once you get over 85, you've probably noticed in mid-June through August, your fescue doesn't grow as well. You're cutting it less. A nice thing about fescue is that it's green all year round. The warm weather grasses, hybrid Bermuda and Georgia, take full sun, a minimum of 6 hours, but it'll take 8 or more hours. Both of these grasses really like full sun. They have developed some newer varieties that are a bit more shade tolerant, and you can ask your gardening center about those varieties. And if you're looking to put out sod in a new area, you might consider the amount of shade you have. Georgia and Bermuda do best between 80 and 95 degrees, but once it's over 95 degrees, it's going to quit growing. These grasses are very hardy and do well throughout droughts. As you know, they brown out from fall into winter. So when you're thinking about what type of grass, consider the differences between the cool weather and the warm weather grasses. The next mistake is removing the clippings. You don't really have to remove clippings. I mean, I've bagged mine for years, and then learned that the clippings actually serve as mulch. So the grass clippings, as they're spread by your mower, will dry out, fall into the turf, disintegrate, and really provide future nutrients. They also provide, it also provides shade for the roots in hot weather. That helps keep the moisture in. You might want to remove them. I do when I have an area that's got a lot of weeds. I bag it up and put it in a bag and put it on the curb rather than spreading those seeds. And you also may want to remove it if you've got grass piles when cutting. You didn't get around to mowing for a couple of weeks, and when you cut the grass, it left lines. I don't know what these people in the picture are raking. It looks like they're just raking grass, but I don't see any clippings there. Otherwise, it's a nice picture. The 8th lawn care mistake is not aerating the lawn. Turf becomes compacted. It depends upon how much traffic is on the turf. But even grass that is not walked on heavily over a period of years becomes compacted, and you'd benefit by aerating. What aeration does is it pulls plugs from the turf. You can do it yourself. You can go to one of the box stores and rent an aerator. They're heavy though, and I've just gone to getting somebody to do it every few years. The aerator will pull plugs from the turf. Those plugs create holes that allow air, water, and nutrients into the soil. When you aerate when the grass is growing. That means for the warm weather grasses, July, August are great times. For fescue, the time would be right before you seed. And if you have fescue, at least my experience was I had to put some fescue seeds out every fall, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to get away from it. Aerating every 3 or 4 years is usually sufficient. The 9th lawn care mistake is trying to grow grass too close to trees. Trees provide too much shade in some cases. Also, the roots over the years will extend out, and you may find out that it's really quite dry under the tree to the extent of the canopy. The roots roughly go as far as or further than the drip line of the canopy. So you're not getting a lot of moisture there. One of the things I noticed in this picture, and if one looks closely, it looks like there's some bare spots. So that's exactly what has happened here. This grass is being grown under a tree, not all the way up against it, but it's still under the shade of the limbs, and also probably dry because of the roots. If you've been in your home for a number of years, you may have noticed that the hours of sunlight changes as trees get bigger. In my backyard, the trees have gotten considerably taller over the last 20 years, and now I don't get sun on my backyard and half of my backyard until noon. That means that the turf is thinner and it's not doing as well. It's also much more susceptible to weeds. So how much sun you have makes a big difference. And trying to grow Bermuda grass as I am, when it doesn't get sun until afternoon, is a problem. The 10th mistake is you might just have too much turf. Do you still have the right conditions for a healthy turf? I just explained what was going on in my backyard, and you may have a similar situation. If you do, you might want to consider putting in a ground cover or mulching. One of the signs of problems is moisture. Is moss. Moss is caused by three things: poor drainage, too much shade, and also too acidic. So the first thing you do when you see moss is you put some lime out and see if it brings the pH more in line. More often than it doesn't, because the real issues are too much shade and maybe too much drainage. I've got a couple of areas like that. I've quit trying to grow grass in them, and I've just put mulch on them, and pleased with that. Also, you might want to mulch areas that are difficult controlled because you're having difficulty controlling weeds. Weeds grow when the turf is not healthy and thin. And lastly, you may want to reduce the amount of maintenance you're doing on your turf. In my front lawn, when I put in the zoysia, I reduced the grass area about half. Part of it I put in a mulch area, and another part I put in a ground cover. So those are some of the ideas that you may want to consider. So those are the top 10 mistakes. Those are not my only 10 mistakes, but my top 10, and maybe we'll do a future one with Ben's next 10 mistakes. We're going to be doing more classes on lawn care. We're going to do one on the characteristics of warm and cool weather turfs. That is for people who want to know a little bit more about the grass they have, or the grasses they may want to consider if they are unhappy with what they have. We're going to do one on selecting and applying pre and post emergence, and we'll do one on fertilizers. As you saw in the calendar, the applications can be at different times, and so I think we're going to do the pre and post emergence first, and then we'll come back with the fertilizer. So you can look for those, and you'll find them on our YouTube site. For references, I've already talked to you about the University of Georgia's publications link. Once you get there and you are at the Search USGA extension, you can type in turf, and it will bring up a number of publications about various grasses. Or if you just want the calendars, you can put Zorgia lawn calendar or Bermuda lawn care calendar, and it'll pull those up. Another really good site, and one that has a bit more technical information, is this turf site, and that is, I think that's used by a lot of professionals. So if you're looking for more detailed information, that would be a great place to go. So that's our presentation for today. We look forward to doing some in the future. This is part of the mission of the North Fulton Master Gardeners, which is to provide horticultural education, service, and inspiration in our North Fulton community. We support a number of demonstration gardeners here in North Fulton. We provide horticultural scholarships, and we also do children's classes. For the past 20 years or more, we've partnered with Bullock Hall to bring Garden Fair, which is our annual plant sale. We were unable to do it this year in 2020. We don't know about 2021 yet. So please check out our site, which is the nfmg.net site, and we will make our announcements there. This is part of our gardening educational series, and we look forward to having you back in the for a future presentation. Those classes are going to be posted on our social media, so they're easy to find. Probably the more direct way to go is to YouTube and go to North Fulton Master Gardeners, and you'll see a complete list of the videos that we've done. Thank you so much for your time today, and good gardening.